Koreatown. It's time for the only talk show fine for young Korean Americans. It's 1.5 with Bob and Sonny Park. And now, here are your hosts, Bob Park and Sonny Park. Let's give them a round of
Thank goodness, because we're sleeping together.
Oh, Bob, stop!
You look as beautiful as ever.
Oh, why, thank you, Bob. Isn't he sweet, audience?
Sonny, did you have a good weekend?
I did indeed, Bob. In fact, you may notice something different about me.
Different? Okay. You see? You lost 50 pounds.
Oh, God, you're going to make me laugh so hard I'm going to cry. Here, I'll give you another hint.
I can't believe it. Our Sonny Park is getting married.
Yes. My fiancé, David, finally popped the question, and I said, yes.
Well, Sonny, I guess this means no more quickies for us in the copy room.
Sometimes I think they should institutionalize you. But how was your weekend?
Let me tell you. I went to Cosmos, which, as our viewers know, is the Korean nightclub on Western and 7th.
How was it?
Let me tell you. They used to charge only $200 for a complimentary bottle of Crown Royal and a bowl of fruit. But now they've raised their prices to, get this, $250, and there are no more strawberries in the bowl. What the hell is going on?
Awful. Simply awful.
If the managers of Cosmos are watching right now, I'd like to ask, what's going on? I mean, do you think our parents are made of money? Actually, they are. But that's a different story. Come on.
Okay, let's start the show, shall we?
All righty.
Let's start the show. Yeah!
You're watching 1.5 with Bob and Sonny, the show that deals with hard-hitting issues affecting the Korean American community from a 1.5 generation perspective. We've got a great show for you tonight because...
Oh, I'm afraid this one's mine.
Okay, go ahead.
Hello? Oh, hi, honey. No, I'm not busy. I'm just doing the show with Bob. Oh, I love you, too. Dinner tonight at Ule sounds fine. I know how much you love that food. Oh. Okay, honey. I'll miss you until then.
Baby, love me, baby. David, Smith, I love you so much. Baby. Oh, yeah, David. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Don't tell me, that was your gardener, right?
Stop, I start drinking.
Okay. Anyway, this is a good time to explain what the term 1.5 means for those in the audience who don't know.
Can do, Bob. 1.5 refers to the generation of Korean Americans who immigrated to the United States at an early age and for the most part were raised here.
Right. Unlike the first generation who immigrated here as adults.
Like our parents.
Right again, Sonny. Or the second, third, and fourth generations who were born and bred in the U.S. The term 1.5 generally refers to younger Korean Americans.
Like us.
3 for 3, Sonny. Anyway, we're the ones caught between cultures.
Just like a meat in a sandwich.
Okay. Anyway, this is a show for our peers, the 1.5ers.
Then without further ado, let's get the program rolling!
All right. Audience, are you ready for a great show?
I want to see everybody. Come on, everybody.
next guest is a very controversial figure from the African-American community. I almost said black, Bob, but the correct term is African-American.
Sure. He created waves within the Korean-American community a few years ago with his song Black Korea. You may remember him from such films as Boys in the Hood and Menace to Society.
Oops, time out, Bob. I'm afraid our guest wasn't in Menace to Society. You're mixing him up with Wesley Snipes.
Oops, do I feel dumb. Anyway, he's a big star regardless of what he's been in. Please welcome rapper actor Ice Cube.
Everybody, yo, yo, yo! Yo, yo, yo!
How y'all doing? Thank you for coming on the show, Mr. Cube. It's cool.
My fiancé, David, who's white, just loves your music, Mr. Q. Especially that one song about lynching and quartering the white man. It's fabulous stuff.
Before we start the interview, why don't we listen to a little bit of Black Korea? Hey, Juan, can you roll the tape, please?
So don't follow me up and down the market. Roll your little chops, so that's to be a target. Open nationwide boycott. Peace with the people, that's what the boy got. So they respect to the black fist. I will burn your store right down to a crisp.
Wow, that's some powerful stuff.
Okay, don't follow me up and down your market, or your chop suey ass is gonna be a target. Pay respect to the black fist, or we'll burn your store right down to a crisp. Incredible stuff, Mr. Cube.
Food for thought.
Mr. Cube, actually, you know, we're all like family on the show, man. Call you Ice.
No.
Okay. We'll burn your store right down to a crisp. Intense, imaginative imagery. Tell me, what was going through your mind when you wrote that line?
So Korean bitch had disrespected me and I felt like burning her stove down to a crisp.
Huh.
Food for thought.
Okay.
Damn! Black Korea came out 5 years ago. My publicist told me that I could talk about my new CD.
Of course. But first, I want to ask you the question that I'm sure is on all our viewers' minds. How much money do you make?
What?
10 million a year? 20 million?
Man, I ain't answering that.
Oh, come on now, Mr. Cube. Don't be shy.
Sorry.
Something wrong, Bob?
No, it was just the way your nose was scrunched up while you were talking to Mr. Q. It was so cute.
Oh, Bob.
Shit, I'm out of here.
Oh, say the sweetest thing.
Baby, that's because you're the sweetest person I know.
Isn't he a darling? Hey, what happened to Mr. Q?
I guess he had to leave. Maybe he had an appointment in the hood with a homie.
Oh, yes, so
Actually, I think he has a home in Beverly Hills. That must have cost a pretty penny, don't you think, Sonny?
And we still don't know how much money he makes, but he seemed like a nice man. We'll invite him on the show again and find out what his salary is then.
Our next guest is Michael Kim. Michael Kim. He's the director of the newly opened Asian Gay and Lesbian Youth Center on Wilshire.
He's a homosexual, but he's actually not that different from you or me.
Speak for yourself, Sonny. Anyway, please welcome Michael Kim.
Macho, macho man. I want to be a macho man.
Thank you for coming on the show, Michael.
Great being here.
You know, one of my favorite movies was Philadelphia. Tom Hanks was wonderful. I cried like a baby. I'm so glad you could be here.
Well, my goal as director of the center is to reach all the brothers and sisters by any means necessary.
But let me start off the interview with a question that I'm sure is on all our viewers' minds. As director of the Asian Gay and Lesbian Youth Center, tell me, Michael, how much money do you make?
We have a small budget. We're a non-profit organization, actually.
Non-profit.
I don't do this work for money, Bob. I do it because I want to help our youth, particularly our gay and lesbian youth, to be proud of who they are. I know how hard it was for me as a kid to deal with my own sexuality.
What did your parents do when they found out you were gay, Michael?
They kicked me out of the house. They cut me out from their lives emotionally, financially.
Wait a second.
It was as if I didn't exist anymore.
They cut you off? I mean, that must have been difficult. I mean, if your parents cut you off, then who's paying for your BMW?
What?
I said, If your parents cut you off, who's paying for your BMW?
Bob, I don't drive a BMW.
Okay, whatever. I mean, who's paying for your Mercedes?
I don't drive a Mercedes either. I have an '89 Hyundai XL, which I bought used.
Are you sure you're part of the 1.5 generation, Michael?
It could be worse, Bob. He could be driving a Yugo or an orange gremlin.
What about your cell phone and paper, Mike? Your Armani suits, your luxury condo in Century City.
Look,
who pays for those?
Everything I own, I've had to buy with my own money.
Tragic. Simply tragic.
Well, one of the things we do at the center is to teach the kids about HIV and AIDS. I thought we could talk about that.
Yes, AIDS. Another tragic topic. What exactly do you say to Koreans about AIDS, since we all know Koreans can't get AIDS, and there's absolutely...
Whoa! What did you just say?
Oh, don't put me on the spot here, Michael. My memory isn't what it used to
No,
be.
you just said Koreans can't get AIDS.
Oh, well, I don't know any Koreans who have AIDS. Do you, audience?
No, I don't know anybody, do you? I don't
Wait, look, who's a 1.5 generation Korean-American man is HIV positive.
Oops, you're getting a little too graphic there, Michael. This is a family show.
Oh, you see, it's that type of ignorance which is hurting our community.
Must be
we
nice
need to
to have
address
a
that
laughter,
issue.
Michael.
What?
I said it must be nice to have someone to hold, to touch, to love. I don't have anybody like that.
There we go again, Bob.
I thought I had somebody like that, but I guess I was wrong.
Thank you for coming on the show, Michael. Definitely some food for thought there. Okay, fine. Now it's time for the final segment of our show. Point, counterpoint. This is where we This is where we invite folks from opposite sides of an issue to debate their differences. Our topic tonight is pets or meat. We'll be dealing with the issue of eating dogs. Is it cruelty to an intelligent, lovable animal, or is it no different than eating other meats? We have with us tonight Mrs. Tae-Yu Kim, who's being accused of slaughtering and eating her family dog. She's here with her attorney, Angela Cho. On the opposing side, Janice Daniels, an animal rights activist, and Gary Donovan, her neighbor, Mrs. Kim's neighbor, who also reported her to the authorities. Let's welcome our guests to the show. Thank you, everyone, for coming to the show. Now, Mrs. Kim, is it true that you actually slaughtered and cooked your family dog?
I previously interviewed said, out of no work, my husband and me, our children starving.
Mrs. Kim has previously stated that both she and her husband have been out of work and they only wanted to feed their starving children. Mrs. Kim also took precautions to prepare the dog humanely.
Humanely? I lived 3 doors down. It didn't sound humane to me. Sounded like it was Judgment Day on Oscar Mayer's farm.
Oh, shut up! I have no idea what Mr. Donovan meant by his comments. But what Mrs. Kim needs to realize is that it is illegal in the state of California to consume an animal illegally primarily classified as a pet.
What is a pet? Some people keep animals such as rabbits, goats, and chickens as pets. Yet it's acceptable to eat them.
Dog is an intelligent animal. Man's best friend. Didn't you see Home and Down?
And they're so cute.
Like you, Sonny.
What'd you say, Bob?
That's true, Sonny.
Pigs have one of the highest intelligence levels of any animal. But Miss Daniels is not putting any pork eaters on trial.
Miss Cho, I'm a vegetarian. I think the meat industry in general is corrupt and cruel.
We're not singling any one of them out like you are Mrs. Kim and her family. This is racism.
This has nothing to do with race. Wow. So is it true that Koreans eat dogs? I did not know that.
Sometimes we don't know the things that are the most obvious.
Sonny, there are certain species dogs that were bred in Korea for food at one time. But these days, it's quite rare, almost non-existent.
Fascinating. Food for thought. Oops, maybe I shouldn't be using the word food right now.
Sonny, we need to talk.
We are talking
About us.
What's us?
Wait, I want to say something here. Several of the dogs in our neighborhood have disappeared recently. We have witnesses who say Mrs. Kim took those dogs. I don't care if she's Korean, Japanese, or Martian. That has nothing to do with nothing. She's kidnapping our dogs and eating them. That's what this is about.
There is no evidence that Mrs. Kim is in any way linked to any alleged dog disappearances.
I had a dog once. It was loyal. It never left me for another dog. Especially a white dog named David!
Mrs. Kim, is it true that breeds also eat cats? What about other animals?
No, there's no evidence.
Sonny, I can't wait anymore. Come on.
Damn, Bob! Just stop it! Come on, Bob, don't be so uptight.
I'm a Korean American male. I enjoy being uptight, Sonny.
Okay, fine, Bob. The rhythm of the show is ruined. What is it? What about our debate?
I'm in love with you. Okay? I've been in love with you for a long time now.
Oh, is this a talking show?
You're all I think about. Now that you're marrying this white guy, Dave, it's making me love you. I need to know how you feel about me.
Gee, Bob, you kind of put me in an awkward spot. I mean, I think you're great, but it's just that, it's nothing personal. It's just that, I mean, you are terrific. I just can't see a Korean man because they remind me of my brother or my father.
I see.
So don't take it personal.
Okay. So there's no chance between us.
Well, not really, no, but it's not the end of the world. Put on a happy face.
This one's mine? Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, serious? All right, I'll be there right after the show.
Something wrong, Bob?
Nothing, my dad was just shot.
Oh, no, that's terrible news.
Really? I mean, it's the third time he's been shot this year. He owns a liquor store in the worst neighborhood in L.A. What do you expect, right? Hope he recovers before the weekend's out. I'm going to Vegas this weekend, and I need some cash.
Wait a minute. Is that the old Bob I know and love starting to come out again?
It is. It is. It is! I'm back and I feel great, baby! Oh.
It's good to have my Bob back.
It's good to be back.
Hey!
Listen, I'm sorry I said I was in love with you. I didn't know what I was thinking. Sometimes it takes a tragedy to make us remember the important things in life.
Like your Vegas trip.
Exactly, Sonny. Anyway.
Hey, guess what?
What?
We're out of time, Bob.
We are at that? Okay!
Yeah, tune in next week when we're going to talk with Koreans who've had reconstructive eye surgery. My fiancé David wants me to get eye surgery.
I think you'd look great with rounder eyes.
Anyway, we'd like to thank our sponsors, my parents, who own Charlie Chan's Dry Cleaners on Vermont. When they say one-day service, they mean one-day service.
And my parents, who own the Superfly liquor store on Crenshaw, the finest selection of malt liquor in the county. Hope you recover before the weekend, Dad.
Good night, everyone.
Yes. I mean, my name is Tae-hwan Im. My last name is spelled Y-I-M, not just I am.
It is time for your trial.
Trial? I don't understand that.
Do you have a lawyer?
Who are you?
Answer the question, do you have a lawyer?
Why do I need a lawyer? No.
Then the court will appoint one.
Hey, Mr. Yim, my name is Andrew Solomon. We don't have much time, so we'll do this as quickly and efficiently as possible. I'm your court-appointed attorney, and we can plead for a lesser charge.
Wait, I don't understand.
You didn't let me finish. We're working a plea bargain with the judge, and if everything goes well, you should be sentenced to only a few generations in prison.
Wait, what am I on trial for?
Mr. Yin, we don't have time. Something the matter?
Excuse me, but I mean, you,
I'm mixed. My mother was Korean, my father is German-Irish. Mr. Yim, I don't speak Korean, so please, let's get on with this. How does the plea bargain sound?
What am I plea bargaining for?
Well, if we go to trial and you lose, which most likely you will, you could spend the rest of eternity locked up in a prison cell where you will be forgotten for all history. These are serious accusations made by powerful forces.
This is some misunderstanding. I want to prove my innocence.
Okay, if that's what you want. Honorable judges, we've made our decision. We are going to trial.
Do you understand the charges against you?
Yes.
No. Why am I here?
You are being charged with treason, the most serious offense in the eyes of this court.
Treason? Against what?
Against American history.
Oh, that's absurd.
How do you plead?
Guilty. My client pleads not guilty, Your Honors.
How have I committed treason against American history?
Prosecution, you may begin. Thank you, Your Honors. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, Mr. Yim, as a representative of the Korean American community, is on trial today to answer to charges against his people.
Is she saying that I have been singled out to stand trial for all Korean Americans?
That pretty much about covers it.
Oh, no. I'm not qualified to represent all Korean Americans. Why me? What have I ever done?
Why me? What have I ever done? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I think those two questions uttered by the defendant himself pretty much sums up why he's sitting before us here today. What have I ever done? That's exactly it, Mr. Yim. What have you ever done? You have been here in the United States for almost 100 years, and what have you done? What have you done to enrich and contribute to the history of this nation? Not much by my reckoning. And that is what I will set out to prove during the course of these proceedings. Thank you.
What is she talking about? I haven't been here for 100 years. I immigrated to America in 1970.
Remember, you're on trial for the crimes of all Korean Americans. She's referring to their 100-year presence in the United States.
But why try me? Me? For what I have or haven't done?
This is our system. This is just the way things are done, Mr. Yim. It's easier to blame scapegoats than to examine real solutions. Besides, this is an election year. That shouldn't surprise you.
Defense, opening statements.
Thank you, Your Honors. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, never mind the implications of putting one frightened, confused, and decent man on trial for a crime he hardly understands, much less has committed. Mr. Yim is a hard-working individual who has hardly rested one day since he set foot on the soil. He is a man who came here with dreams of a better life for himself, his children, and their children. How many of us, how many of our parents and their parents came to this country with the same dream? To say that Mr. Yim has distorted that dream for the rest of us, that he has committed treason against our history, is not only wrong, it's a grave error. And if he is convicted, if he is denied his rightful place in our cultural mosaic, it is the rest of us who will be the poorer. Thank you.
Prosecution, please call your first witness to the stand. We call the defendant's daughter, Grace Yim. Now, Ms. Yim, when was the last time you spoke to your father?
It's been many years.
And why is that?
I didn't want to see him.
Why?
He was never a good father. Even before Mom died, I never got along that well with him.
And in what way was he not a good father?
He was never there for me. He was was always working, 14, 15 hours a day. When I needed him, he was always busy. He told me just to do my schoolwork and study. That was his answer to everything. Get all A's and everything was fine.
Grace! Always working was for you. The times I told you to study was so you wouldn't have to live like me.
Mr. Yim, we will not allow an outburst like that in our courtroom.
Please maintain yourself.
Grace, how did your father's attitude make you feel?
I felt like a failure.
Can you show the jury your wrists? When did you try to commit suicide?
Suicide?
It was in high school.
And why did you try to kill yourself?
Because I couldn't be the perfect daughter my father wanted me to be.
I didn't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is Mr. Yim, a representative of a community, a people that ignores its own young, that ignores its own future. How can we expect those who provide no guidance for their own to have an interest in contributing to the history and culture of the larger society? No further questions.
Mr. Solomon.
Thank you, Your Honor. Have you ever spent a day at work with your father?
No, not a whole day.
Why not?
I don't know. I guess I never felt like I needed to.
Then you don't really know how hard your father works.
I've heard him talk about it. Complain, really. He used to get drunk a lot of times after work and complain. I hated it.
Hated it? Let me try to understand what it is you actually hated. You hated your father having to wake up at 5 a.m. every morning.
I needed
You hated him having to drive to work before the sun even came up.
I never
You hated him having to work until 10 p.m. without taking a single break because he couldn't afford to hire another employee. You hated the fact that he couldn't come home before 11 p.m. before falling exhausted into bed. For 15 years, your father lived this life. Is this what you hated? Come on, we need an answer. Is this what you hated?
Yes, I
Yes
hated
is enough. Tell me, why do you think your father worked so hard?
to make money.
Make money. Do you know for what purpose?
Objection, Your Honor. Conjecture. He's asking her to answer something she couldn't possibly know.
Question withdrawn, I'll rephrase. Grace, has there ever been a time where your father has not provided for you? Have you ever gone hungry? Have you ever not had enough clothes to wear? Have you ever not had all the things you needed or wanted?
No, but there's a difference between providing me with material things and
Mr.
providing me-
Yim sacrificed his own future, his own dreams, so that his daughter wouldn't have to. Now, is that the action of someone who ignores his own young, his own future? On the contrary, it's quite the opposite. No further questions?
Court is now in recess. We will return shortly.
Guilty, guilty, guilty.
Mr. Solomon.
Mr. Yim, can I wait? Tubbs is yet to come, and I need to
Don't you
prepare.
ever speak that way to my daughter again.
What?
She's my only child.
Have you forgotten she's testifying for the prosecution, the other side?
Maybe she's right. Maybe I failed her.
Sounds like you did your best to provide for her.
I thought providing for her meant constantly working. Working constantly so that she will have all the things I didn't have. And look where it got me. My daughter tried.
Look, a lot of young people don't appreciate what their parents do for them.
How about you? How about your parents? Your mother was Korean. Your father...
Was not. Let's make one thing clear. I'm here to present the best case on your behalf that I can, and I will. That's all this is. You're my client, I'm your attorney, and that's where it ends. Now, I don't want to talk about my family, my childhood, or anything like that, and I don't want to know anything about you unless it's relevant to this case. Do we have an understanding?
Yes.
not my area of expertise.
You're born and raised here in America.
Look, I said my personal life is irrelevant to these proceedings. If we're going to continue to have these misunderstandings, I can ask the court to assign another attorney to your case. Do we have an understanding?
Court is now in session.
Prosecution, I call Reverend X and the African American chorus to the stand. Reverend X, tell me about your problems with Mr. Yim.
Sure. The problem with Mr. Yin and those like him are simple. They don't show any respect for us, our people, our culture, our history. They come to this country. They open their businesses in our neighborhoods, but show us zero respect.
Can you elaborate on that point, sir?
Yeah. We were brought to this nation as slaves.
What happens to a dream deferred?
We fought for our freedom, a freedom we have yet to fully realize.
Does it dry up?
Like a raisin in the sun?
What little freedom we do have comes from the blood and the tears of the brothers and sisters who came before us.
Or fester like a sword.
And then run.
Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Marcus Garvey, Rosa Parks, and countless others who struggled and died in anonymity.
Does it stink like rotten meat?
Or crust and sugar?
They worked for freedom that every single person of color in America today, including Koreans, enjoy. Yet, Koreans still refuse to acknowledge this.
Maybe it just sags.
Like a heavy load.
Mr. Yim and his people have no respect for the history of others in this nation, a history that Korean Americans have directly benefited from.
Or does it explode?
Look at Latasha Harlins, a black teenager shot and killed by Soon-Tek Oh, a Korean grocer, over what? $1.79 bottle of orange juice. Is that respect, Mr. Yim?
Hell no!
Look at the 1992 uprising.
Not guilty! Not guilty!
Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Do you think it was accident or coincidence that so many Korean businesses were looted and burned, Mr. Yim?
We said hell no! Hell no!
No further questions.
No further questions. Reverend X, that comment you made about it not being an accident or coincidence that Korean businesses were targeted
Mr. Solomon,
needs to be
what are you
clarified.
saying?
Are you saying that Korean businesses were targeted? Is responding to racism with further acts of racism?
Solomon, stand down.
Your Honors, I'm just trying to clarify
Stand
the issue.
down.
In our courts,
In his court of opinion,
you will accept the testimony of the prosecution as righteous.
the public perception, no matter what its validity, is accepted as a fact of life, and we deal only with facts in this courtroom.
Are we understood, Mr.
Are we
Solomon?
understood, Mr. Solomon?
That's the truth!
Counselor, keep your client in line.
Your Honors, could I have a second?
We can recess.
No, all I need is 1 second.
Fine, Mr. Solomon, but we will not allow any more outbursts in our courtroom.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, I could rebut Reverend X's comments point by point. For example, in his use of the Latasha Harlan shooting, I could point out how Soon-Tek Oh acted as an individual and that to interpret her actions as representative of the Korean American community is just as misguided as singling Mr. Yim out to stand trial for his community. But I won't do that, for one reason. Reverend X and his chorus are right. They're right about Mr. Yim's attitude towards African American culture.
What?
Have you found, in your experience, that Koreans are particularly disrespectful or even downright hostile towards African Americans?
Yes. They show more respect to the stray mutt on the street than they do to us.
Hallelujah,
Preach it,
preacher.
brother.
What is the reason for that? I mean, do Koreans and blacks have a history of animosity towards one another?
No, not really.
No.
Not really.
In fact, if you examine the history of these two communities, you will find many similarities.
Both groups were enslaved. Africans were brought up to this nation in chains by the founding fathers of this great country. Koreans were enslaved by the Japanese,
who annexed their country in 1910.
Do you know about that, Reverend X?
No. But needs to be said.
Prohibited from speaking their language, practicing their culture, flying their flag. Offenses punishable by imprisonment or execution. So I ask you, Reverend X, how can two groups with similar histories of oppression be in the position that you described?
Objection, Your Honors, conjecture.
Sustained.
I'll rephrase. During the 1870s, in Mississippi and Louisiana, white plantation owners brought in Chinese laborers to work for them to educate the newly freed black slaves. Do you know about this history, Reverend X?
I'm not sure. You'd have to tell me more to refresh my memory.
These plantation owners paid the Chinese cheaper wages, praised them for their hard work, and this created feelings of hostility among the newly freed slaves who saw these foreigners taking their jobs and supposedly thriving. Now this pattern continues to repeat itself today in this so-called Black Korean conflict. Yes, Reverend X is right. Mr. Yim is ignorant about African American history and culture. He was forced by economic necessity into the heart of a community he didn't know or understand and told, this is your new life, make the most of it, we're not going to help you. Again, two different communities pitted against each other by the powers that be. Once again, I ask you, how can we be in this situation? No further questions?
Court will now recess.
What you said out there was wonderful. It really made me realize that.
Let's make one thing clear here, Mr. Yim. Professionally, I'm bound to present arguments on your behalf, even if they run counter to my own beliefs. Personally, I'm inclined to agree with Reverend X.
You spoke so passionately about blacks and Koreans pitted against so unfairly to each other. You don't really believe that?
The center of this crap has nothing to do with blacks and everything to do with Koreans. I mean, I'm not half black, I'm half white. But do you know how my mother was treated when she married a Caucasian man? And then me, this mixed mongrel, huh? I know how Koreans can be. Their unwillingness to accept anything different.
Oh, you can't let the actions of few individuals...
Oh, we're not talking about a few individuals here, Mr. Yim. My mother's own family disowned her. Her Korean friends, lifelong friends, refused to talk to her anymore. I saw my mother sit alone in the dark crying because she was abandoned. Your, don't you let a couple of rotten apples spoil the barrel philosophy is bullshit. You know in your hearts, Koreans are racist.
You think I'm one of those? Then why do I see the sorrow in your eyes? It must be from the Han which weighs you down.
You're a Korean man. I certainly don't expect you to understand what I've gone through.
I think you're the only one who's known pain. Besides, I thought we had an understanding that we're not supposed to talk about your private life.
When court resumes, I'm going to have to call you to the stand. You need to be ready. You'll be asked about the valuable contributions Koreans have made to American history and culture. You just need to provide examples.
I don't know any examples.
The Korean American, don't you know about the accomplishments of your own community?
You're Korean American also, don't you know?
I'm an American. It's different.
How is it different?
I'm not really Korean. It's not my heritage we're talking about here.
Have you looked in the mirror recently? When was the last time you saw your slanted eyes staring back at you?
Mr. Yin, we both have some cramming to do before court resumes.
You haven't answered my
Look,
question.
I'm tired of this bullshit, all right? You think I wanted to defend you in the first place? The only reason they assigned me to you was because I'm a... But screw this. You want my help or not? Okay. Look, we're going to keep this as simple as possible. We're going to go over all the questions I'm going to ask you, and all those I think the prosecution is going to ask you, and I'm going to tell you how to answer them. Now, the prosecution's going to try to back you into a corner. Remember the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. If the questions get rough, take the fifth and don't answer. Is that clear?
Court is now in session.
Mr. Solomon, please call your witness.
Your Honors, I'd like to call to the stand the defendant, Mr. Yim. Mr. Yim, do you know what this is?
A nectarine
And can you tell me where this nectarine came from?
from Ross.
I mean, historically, where did it come from?
Yes. The nectarine was invented in 1920s by two Korean American men.
Kim Hyung-soon and Kim Ho.
That's right. I think they invented something else, right?
Yes, a new type of peach, maybe.
Yes, the fuzzless peach.
Also known as the Legrand peach.
These two Korean American men revolutionized American agricultural industry.
Very good, Mr. Yim. So two Korean Americans revolutionized the American agricultural industry. And can you tell me what this is?
Oh, I believe this is an Olympic gold medal.
And who does this Olympic gold medal belong to? Mr. Yim. Sammy.
Oh, Sammy Lee, yes.
Sammy Lee. And who was that?
Korean-American man.
And?
Some athlete of some sort.
He was an Olympic diver, the first Asian American to win a gold medal for the United States.
I think he won the gold more than once.
Yes, twice, in fact, in 1948 and 1952.
Yes, what a proud moment that was for Korean Americans. I remember that.
That's great, yes. What's this?
It's a book.
Oh, we know it's a book. What book is it?
East Goes West by Young Hil Kang.
And who is Young Il Kang?
He is a writer.
Can you elaborate on that?
He is a Korean American.
Can you elaborate a bit further on that?
No! My memory is what it used to be. Listen. When I first came to America, those historical knowledges weren't my priority. Instead of continuing this, why don't you just educate me? Why don't you tell the whole world what our illustrious ancestors accomplished here in America?
Fine. What Mr. Yim failed to remember is that Young Il Kang was one of the first Asian American authors to be published by a major American company. Kang wrote in English about the Korean American experience during the 1930s, directly influencing the next generation of Asian American authors like Carlos Bulosan and John Okada, who in turn paved the way for contemporary authors like Chang Rae Lee, Amy Tan, and Maxine Hong Kingston.
Yes.
And what Mr. Yim also can't tell you is that the Korean independence movement against Japanese annexation would not have survived without the work of Koreans here in America between 1910 and 1945.
Yes. Some of our great Korean patriotic leaders lived, worked, and died here in America.
That's right. Towering figures like An Chang-ho, Syngman Rhee, Park Young-man worked and lived in America, as Mr. Yim has so nicely pointed out for us. For almost 100 years, Koreans have contributed to our history and our culture. That much is undeniable. No further questions.
Prosecution. Thank you, Your Honors. You must be full of pride, Mr. Yim. Your people invented a fruit and wrote books that are no longer in print.
You may have intended your comment with sarcasm, but I am proud, Madam Prosecutor. I am proud of my people, as you call us, have accomplished here in America.
You mentioned the names of some of your Korean patriotic leaders, An Chang-ho and so forth. Isn't it true that they and many of that first wave of Korean immigrants came to America as sojourners?
Sojourners? I'm afraid I don't understand what that means.
It means those immigrants came to America not with the intention of settling here permanently. They came only as exiles intending to return to Korea once she was free from Japanese control.
Oh, that may have been their initial intent, but most of them ended up setting down their roots here. They didn't return to Korea.
Just answer the question, Mr. Yim. Did those immigrants come over here with no intention of becoming Americans?
No. Objection.
Overruled.
Jury will not ignore that last remark. Did they come over here as sojourners with no intention of becoming Americans?
Yes, but...
Thank you, Mr. Yim. Since those immigrants never intended to stay, it's safe to assume that they probably made no effort to assimilate into the American landscape, its culture, and its history.
Objection.
Overruled.
Answer the question, Mr. Yim. But, Mr. Yim, you yourself weren't a part of that first wave of Korean immigrants. You came over after the immigration laws were amended, after 1965, as did the majority of Korean immigrants here today.
That's true. I was no sojourner. I came to America to make this my home.
Oh, I see. You say that, but your actions, well, they paint a different picture, don't you think?
No, I don't think that.
You say you came here to become American, but look at how you've lived your life. You've made no effort to learn the English language. You've made no effort to understand the different cultures that make up the American mosaic, as Reverend X and his chorus pointed out. You have remained within your own community. It sounds like you've made every effort to remain absolutely Korean. Isn't that so? Answer the question, Mr. Yim.
I had no time.
Just answer the question, Mr. Yim. Did you not commit treason against American history and culture by remaining in your isolated Korean cocoon, by stubbornly refusing to participate in the very thing you claim you came here for?
No, objection, Your Honor, she's bad.
Overruled. Answer.
I didn't know that.
Not knowing is no excuse.
Your Honors, what is going on here?
Grace, when I came to America, there was no one here to show me how to live as an American.
You're not answering the question, Mr. Yim. Look at your daughter. You ignored her needs, didn't you? You were too concerned with making money, with greed.
No!
If I had been a son, you would have treated me differently. You would have treated me better. You were disappointed in me, weren't you?
This is ridiculous.
Grace, you're wrong. I love you very much.
I could not be what you wanted me to be. Why couldn't you just be happy with me for who I was?
Grace, I'm proud of you. Can't you see that? No parent can be more proud of their child as I am of you.
Yep. Don't go talking to that child about pride, Mr. Yim. You don't know the first thing about pride.
Your Honors, what the hell is going on here?
That will be enough, Mr. Solomon.
The black folk that you were around every day, you thought they were animals, didn't you?
Thieves!
Liars!
Bums! The scum of society!
Did you think that, Mr. Yim?
Did you?
Don't answer that, Mr. Yim.
He has to answer, and truthfully. You're still under oath. Didn't you think that you were better than everyone else? That misguided Korean arrogance, thinking you're all some kind of chosen people. Didn't you think that?
No, don't answer.
You felt no need to be a part of anything outside your narrow community. You couldn't sever your cord with Korea. No, you refused to sever that cord, and now it's choking you. It's choking the life out of you. Isn't that true?
No, it is not.
Just answer the question. You are under oath, Mr. Yim. Is everything I said true or not?
I only tried. You're distorting reality. Reality is more complicated.
Is everything I said true or not? A yes or a no will suffice.
Is this justice? Your Honors, look it.
Yes!
Further questions, Your Honors?
You didn't let me explain.
Court will take a short recess
No.
before hearing closing arguments.
They didn't let me explain why.
What the hell was that out there? First of all, I told you how to answer my questions. That wasn't hard, was it? We went over it. Kim Hyung-soo, Kim Ho, the nectarine. Sam Healy, 2 gold medals. Young Young Khan, pioneering Asian American opera. It wasn't much to remember, was it? I mean, was it?
There was so little time.
Oh my God, this is your fate we're talking about here. This is a serious matter.
You think I don't know it's serious?
The prosecution was hammering you with their questions. You know, didn't I tell you she was going to manipulate you? True, I didn't know she was going to do what she did, but regardless, you fell right into her trap. Come on, I told you to take the fifth. But the questions got rough when she got you into the corner. Don't answer. I mean, is it too much to remember?
I'm your elder. You'll speak to me with respect.
Oh, fuck respect. Maybe in Korea everyone blindly goes around respecting their elders. But that's not what it's like here. Here, respect is earned. And you haven't done a goddamn thing to earn my respect.
Hey, put them in the...
There's a young boy named Andrew Solomon growing up in any town in USA. He grew up thinking he was like all the other boys. But surprise, he wasn't. But he pretended he was. He went to school, got good grades, captain of the football team. Ta-ra-ra, boom today, ta-ra-ra, boom today. There's a great big hole inside this all-American goose heart. Carved up, I don't know what the fuck what. I've done my best to try to help you. But I feel like you've resisted me at every turn. I don't think I can stop the jury from finding you guilty. Do you even care?
That's why I married you, you know. You weren't like my other suitors. Their versions of sweet nothings were something like, oh, make me some kimchi jjigae.
But you are here.
Yes, I am here. Finally here to join you in America with our son.
Our son.
Now that we're here, I think we should give him a strong American.
Yes. So that he will grow up to be a great American. Even be president one day.
Yaba, you must be born here if you want to be the president. Our son was born in Korea.
Who cares? This is America. Anything can happen. But first, a name. How about George?
I don't think so.
You can't get any more American than that. How about Martin? After Martin Luther King.
Yes, I like it very much.
I remember listening to a tape of Dr. King speaking when I was a student at Seoul University. It was magnificent. Well, I thought, any country that can produce a man like that, it had to be a wonderful country. Martin Im! You know, we are going to have a daughter one day, and we'll name her Grace. She will be the most beautiful girl you've ever laid your eyes on.
Oh, one child at a time. I think we should get settled in our new home first, before we discuss any more children. Do you know why we're here, Martin? Because this America is our dream. We can't wait any longer. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun? Or does it explode? What's wrong, Yabo?
I was just thinking maybe I shouldn't have sent for you so early. I have only 2 more years left for my medical school. But I couldn't bear the thought of being away from my wife and my son for another day. Let alone a few more years.
Yabo, everything will turn out all right. We are in America now.
You're right. I'll have to drop out of school for a while so I can provide for us. It will all work out. My friend just opened a liquor store in Los Angeles, and he told me I could work for him a couple of years, of course, until I save up enough money to go back, finishing school, and still provide for us.
I don't like the idea of you working in a liquor store. That's a manual labor. You're a scholar.
But it will be only a couple of years, that's all.
Then you'll be the rich and famous doctor you've always dreamed of being?
Yes. In 10, 15 years, our children will have everything we didn't have. Our beautiful children. Hello. Where are you going? Come back. I still have so much to tell you, please.
Final statement.
Why? I have no chance.
Final statement, Mr. M.
Reverend, why do I see such a deep sorrow in your eyes? And more, for Koreans, it would be harm.
Han.
There's no English translation. Koreans use the term to describe the collective sorrow and anger they experienced because of the accumulated oppression they've gone through the history. But history is always personal. Yes.
Yes.
I had a son. He died when he was not even a year old. My wife couldn't carry him to a hospital in time. I was working. She was with him when he started to choke. My wife didn't even know about 911. We had Grace a few years later. I wanted her life to be perfect. A life free from harm.
You could turn to your wife.
My wife. She died during the riots. Losing a son. Losing a daughter's heart. And living with reminders of dreams which would never be realized. The riots were the final. She died of harm.
We are waiting for facts, Mr. Yin.
Facts. Fact. I came to America to escape from harm.
Fact.
I thought it would be different.
Fact.
But it isn't.
Fact.
You're rambling, Mr. Yin.
I'm a failed man with failed dreams. Please don't make my frustrations an indictment of entire people.
Out of order!
Don't make my dreams a battlefield to fight others.
The court orders silence!
The night is beautiful.
So the faces of my people.
The stars are beautiful.
So the eyes of my people.
The beautiful is also the sun.
Beautiful also are the souls of my people.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, we are deeply and forever ingrained in the fabric of the rich American mosaic. Our future lies in your hands. Thank you.
We have dreams.
And we are still dreaming.
Yes, we are still here.
Looking ahead.
좋다!